Hello and welcome to our first session of MCQs on macroeconomics. We are delivering lectures on macroeconomics on different topics. Therefore, we thought it appropriate that each lecture should be followed by a brief session of MCQs on that very topic. So our first topic in macroeconomics is macroeconomics and introduction. Therefore, on that very subject, on that very topic, this will be our first session of MCQs. So we will begin our session with our first question. And our first question is, in economics we study, and we are having four options. Obviously each question is followed by four options, and we have to select the most appropriate option among these. So the question is, in economics we study. What do we study in economics? So first option is use of resources, B option is choices and decisions, C option is behavior, and D option is all of the above. And obviously in economics we study use of resources, so this is appropriate answer. Then we study choices and decisions, this is also appropriate answer. Then we study behavior as well by studying choices and decisions. Therefore all the three are appropriate answers. Therefore the most appropriate answer is all of the above, which is the D option, which is the fourth option over here. Our second question is, economics is concerned with decision making regarding resource use by. So here the issue is, who is actually making the decisions, about whom we are trying to study in economics. So first option is individuals, B option is firms, third option is organizations, and the last option is all of the above. So who is making decisions about whom we study, whose behavior we are trying to study in economics? Now obviously it involves individuals, it involves firms, it involves organizations. Therefore the most appropriate answer for the second question is, second multiple choice question is MCQ, is the D1 again, all of the above, because economics involves all these entities. Our third question is, decision making can be studied at which level? So decision making, obviously we are trying to study this thing in economics. So at which level we are trying to study the decision making? At the individual level, at the collective level, both individual level and collective level, none of the above. So obviously we are trying to study decision making in economics at the individual level, at the collective level. So the most appropriate answer would be here C, because it says both individual level and collective level. None of the above is not an option out here. So our answer over here is C part, that is both. The fourth question is MCQ, is studying decision making at individual level is called. So when we are trying to study behavior, decision making, choices at the individual level, at the level of an individual, for example a family or a consumer or a firm or a market, for example. So what we are actually studying, or which branch does it belong to? Macroeconomics, microeconomics, both micro and macro, and the D part is none of the above. D option is none of the above. So obviously the decision making at individual level that we study in economics is actually in microeconomics. So B option is the most appropriate option over here, the correct option over here. The fifth question is, studying decision making at collective aggregate level is called. When we study the aggregate variables, collective level decision making, what do we study this in which branch? So macroeconomics, the second option is microeconomics, the C option is both micro and macro, and the D option is none of the above. Obviously collective decision making is studied, collective behavior of aggregate variables is studied in macroeconomics. So our appropriate answer over here is A option. Our sixth question is, studying price output of a product follows in the domain of. When we are studying a product, it is price and it is output. In which branch of economics do we study this? So our options are macroeconomics, microeconomics, development economics, then international economics. Obviously the answer over here in this case is microeconomics, because in microeconomics we study how the price and output of a product is determined in consumer behavior and producer behavior collectively. Our seventh question is, studying issues about money belong to the domain of. When we are studying money and different things related with it, for example, demand and supply of money, etc., in which branch of economics do we study this? Microeconomics, macroeconomics, both micro and macro, and the last option is none of the above. Obviously, we study the issues related with money in macroeconomics. Among the options that have been given, the most appropriate is macroeconomics. Our eighth question is, which of the following does not fall in the domain of macroeconomics? So you have four options. You have to find out among these four options which of them is not studied in macroeconomics. So the first option is employment. Second is national output, third one is inflation, and the D option is price of a product. Now, the first three are actually studied in macroeconomics. Employment is studied in macroeconomics. National output is GDP, etc. This is studied in macroeconomics. Inflation is a subject of macroeconomics, topic of macroeconomics. So our most appropriate answer in this case is price of a product, because this is a thing which we are not directly studying in macroeconomics. Our ninth question is, which of the following does not fall in the domain of microeconomics? Among the four options that have been given over here, you have to find the one which is not actually studied in microeconomics, not a part of microeconomics. So the options are, the first one is consumer behavior, the second one is producer behavior, the third one is factor market, and the fourth one is international trade. Now you had to identify which of them is not studied in microeconomics. Consumer behavior, we study it in microeconomics, therefore it is not the option. Producer behavior, we study in this thing in microeconomics. Factor market is also studied in economics, how the price and output are determined in factor market, factor prices, how they are determined. And the D part is international trade, which is actually studied in macroeconomics or open economy macroeconomics or international trade, which is a separate subject now in economics. So the most appropriate answer in this case is option in this case is international trade, because this is a subject which is not taken up in microeconomics. Our last question is, we need to study macroeconomics because you have to find which of the four options provides the most appropriate reason to study macroeconomics. Okay, so the first option is microeconomics is insufficient to understand macroeconomy. So when we try to study macroeconomy, microeconomics is not completely helpful, it is insufficient. This is the first option. The second option is dynamics at the micro level are different than that of macro level. At macro level, the way things work, it is different than the way things work at the micro level. The C option is what may be good or true at the micro level may not be so at the macro level. What is true about the micro level may not be true at the macro level. And the last option is all of the above. So we have to identify the most appropriate option over here. Now if we focus on our lecture and then on this very subject, this question, we find that actually microeconomics is actually insufficient to understand macroeconomy, how macroeconomy works. Everything cannot be understood with the help of microeconomic tools. Therefore it is an appropriate answer. Appropriate reason, in fact. Dynamics, the second option is dynamics at micro level are different than that of macro level. This is also true. And the third option is, C option is, what may be good or true at the micro level may not be good or true, or it may not be so at the macro level. This is also true. This is the thing that we have studied in this very at the end of this very lecture. And most appropriate answer therefore is all of the above, because all the three are appropriate reasons for studying macroeconomics, while as there is already a subject called economics or microeconomics. I hope that you have enjoyed this session of on MCQs, our first session, and God willing, every lecture will be followed by a session on MCQs, so that we are able to assess our understanding of each topic. Do subscribe to my YouTube channel, Macroeconomics. Thank you very much.